Nike reported their second quarter earnings, and I wanted to take a look at the earnings report, give you my opinion on how the performance was and overall what I expect out of the stock going forward. I'm a Nike stockholder. I own a good number of shares and decided to buy because this is a really good company. They didn't get to number one by making terrible shoes. In the opposite, they're really a recognized brand around the world. They have the best relationships with athletes that really promote their product. So let's take a look at the earnings and I'll update my valuation on Nike, my expectations for the stock. And I'll tell you how I think this stock is discounted or being sold at a premium and what I plan to do with this stock, what I expect this stock is going to do over the coming years. I'm a long term investor. I like the idea of picking up Nike at a low price and watching it grow over time because there's only one Nike. And I think they have a pretty strong competitive advantage against their competitors. So let's take a look at the earnings. So, first, revenue is down, and that is not good. That is a red flag in my book. When you look at the revenue, it was really down in the quarter by about 9%. If you take out the fluctuations in currency, it's about 9% down. I don't like that. It was mostly in footwear, and that's where they should be fairly dominant. Now, I would say that they're a massive company, so losing some revenue might be acceptable, but it's really becoming a trend. So it'd be nice for them to start growing at some point. Another not so much of an alarm is their gross margin shrunk just a tiny bit, 100 basis points. So it went from 44 point something to 43.6. It's still a really good margin for an apparel footwear company. That's a very good margin, by the way. They have a new CEO, and this guy is a person that really grew up with the business, really knows the business, and hopefully he can get Nike back to its core competencies and what made the company super strong. I know one thing they tried to do is move away from having direct relationship with smaller retailers and have a channel, so to speak, a distribution channel. And that's not working as well as they would like. I think the Nike direct brands, it's down 13%. So they were hoping to have kind of a direct relationship in the times, right? So many companies have direct relationships, and Nike wanted to be one of them. Well, it's not working so far. So hopefully the new CEO looks at it. And if it's the right strategy, it's the right strategy. But maybe they can pivot if needed to a better strategy for the company. Some other things that I wanted to note. So the sales are down. Cash is good. They have good fair amount of cash. They have more cash than they do debt. So very strong balance sheet. They're rebuying shares. That's very good. And overall, their profitability is there. So it is, I think, a period of realigning the company, re-establishing their strategy that's going to work, and somewhat repairing the business so that they can become stronger and better. And hopefully, some growth is in the future. The news on Nike didn't seem all that positive to me, and the loss of revenue and other things had me a little concerned. Now, other investors in after hours are buying up the stock, so it's up 6.36% in after hours trading, which is interesting. The company is a leading company, so that's why I invested in the company. It's a $104 billion market cap. 22 PE is very reasonable, and they've been buying back shares, which is good. Analysts think it's discounted by 23%. Very good. And analysts, based on their forecast, 31 analysts cover it. So there's plenty of coverage on Nike. They believe the company is going to start growing next year. They're going to grow about 4%, then 6%, then 7%. If that does happen, I think the stock's going to flourish and it could really, really rise. That's what I'm banking on. If I could see the signals of them beginning to grow, I'm going to buy more shares. For now, I'm just going to hold my shares. I think it's a really good stock, really good company, but the new CEO really has to prove himself by growing the company. Analysts had the stock discounted, and I do as well, but just not as much. I believe the stock is discounted by about 16%. I do most of my valuation based on free cash flows, which cash flows are very good. I really pulled back on my forecast, really bringing down the initial starting point of free cash flow, and then growing free cash flows in the first 4 years just by 2%. So with a very conservative forecast, I get an 18% discount, which is still very good. And overall, I get a 16% discount if I include earnings per share in the calculation. So the Nike stock, I think if I could see a little more evidence that their strategy is beginning to work, as soon as they start growing, I'd be a buyer. But for now, I'm just going to hold my shares in Nike. I own about $30,000 of Nike, and I think I'm just going to hold that position. I'm not going to buy any shares. I'm not going to sell any shares. I'd be very interested in seeing how the next quarter plays out, see if their strategy is working, see if they're going to begin to grow. It'd be really nice to see them grow. And I'm going to really hold the stock because I believe that Nike stands alone among apparel companies and footwear companies. There's only one Nike. They're the biggest, and they got there because their products are really desirable by a wide array of customers in a wide array of sports. So for that reason, I wanted to own this company. It's almost like owning Apple or Google, but I was able to buy shares at a discount. And I think these shares are going to be worth a lot more in 5 years, especially if they start to grow their business. So that's my video on Nike. Hope you found it interesting. And keep in mind, I'm a Nike stockholder. I'm just an individual investor sharing my journey and opinion. I'm not recommending you buy, hold, or sell Nike. Please be careful with your investments. Thanks for watching.